decided I was going to start a new podcast and give it a whole different name and everything like that. But then I thought, I've already got an audience with more than just code. Sorry, audience. I apologize to the audience in advance. Too bad. Thanks for subscribing, by the way. We started up another podcast called Spotcast, and we have 25 listeners, right? So and that's after 3 years of doing that show. So I thought, it's a waste to sort of throw away an audience of roughly, we get around 2,000 listeners to each.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Code, and we have about 600, 700 people who are subscribers, and of course, the pandemic has not helped any of that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So so it's kind of a pain in the buttock.
That's weird that the Spotcast doesn't have very many.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think there's probably a gazillion podcasts named Spock something or other.
Oh, so, yeah, that could be.
And Jaime and I decided.
You guys like Discovery, so that might be what.
Well, no. Well, it's not. I wouldn't say we like Discovery because we decided to build a show around Discovery, which is probably the flaw in our plan. That was Jaime's idea. Was, well, this new show starting up. Let's do a podcast about it, right? And so we merrily went off and did that, and then we argued about what we should have called it. I wanted to call, what did I call it? Boldly Going or something like that, right?
Oh,
but
yeah,
but there's already
truck generic.
Yeah, there's already a boldly going, something to do with those Jason Snell and those guys over there, Gene McDonald's friends and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
By the way, we're going to drop a lot of names here during this show, I'm sure, today between you and me. But they already had the name, and then I've teasingly renamed it Spock's Brain Podcast because I think that's probably a better. I like that name better, but we settled on something Spockish, right? So
yeah,
because I have a voiceover guy who does the outro on the actual recorded, or like the silent version. What do you call it when it's talkies, right?
I say the talkies.
The talkie one, yeah, the talkie version.
So moving forward, are you going to stick with just from video from now on, or is it going to be mixed back?
It's going to be a mix from 2020.
You need the what did we call it in the podcast with Tammy?
A roundabout creative chaos.
Yeah, the outtakes show at the end.
Yeah. Oh, the after show.
Yeah.
The after show that came from the everybody's favorite podcast, as my friend Greg called it today. Accidental Tech Podcast.
Oh, did they do that?
So yeah. Well, that's where they started. So I mean, I listened to them a few times, but and I'm sure some of our listeners will agree, it gets a little tiring. So I stopped listening to it for a long time. I'll dial in every now and then when they do something that's interesting. But apparently the genesis behind that was the three of them. They're all app developers. They all wanted to do a podcast about cars. Right?
Oh, that's
they're
right.
all into cars, right? And so what happened was they started this podcast, and then they started, talking about, they kept sliding back into tech because that's where they're where the rubber meets the road with those guys, yeah. Right? Pardon the pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wish that was intended. That was a great great little segue there. But then I think that's how they got the name Accidental Tech Podcast, because they do talk about tech, and that seems to be
right. Yeah, they did spin off the car one, but it didn't run very long, if I remember.
Oh, really?
I listened to that. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't tune in much into ATP either. Just like, I certainly love Mac stuff, but there's only so many dudes talking about Mac stuff that I can do podcasts.
Yeah, true. And
I did the car one.
Depends on what they're talking about too. Like, yeah, I mean, I listened to a bunch of radio show podcasts. I used to listen to the radio shows, and now I listen to the or in the pandemic, I've discovered a few interesting little ones. Like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend is a pretty funny one.
Oh, nice.
Because I can never find his TV show, right? So, but anyway, let me do the proper introduction here. All right. So, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the More Just Code podcast. My name is Tim Mitra. I am sitting in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm pleased to be joined by John Wilker in Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
Is it Denver?
Well, normally sunny, hazy, and smoky, and very hot Denver, Colorado.
Oh, we're not doing weather on this podcast.
That's for the drive time show.
Yeah. So this is we're Yeah, it's funny. We talk about weather all the time on the show, which is one of our sort of hilariousnesses. And it's funny because I love it when I get on talking about traffic with Mark, because I can always get him to do the Californians like with unintentionally, right? I'll say, look, so how do you get down to Big Sur? Do you take the number 1 and connect from the 420? And he's like, there's no 420, and he just goes on for 15 minutes about traffic in California.
Anyone who's sat through it is scarred.
It's a running joke, yeah. So apologies to those of you who've done that. All right, so John, I know you're from the 360 Dev conferences. I think I tell the story, and I told it last week on the first video one about how I found out or tried to find out about iOS development when I first was tasked with the building of an app. And so I discovered 3 things in 2010. One was that I accidentally found Voices That Matter conference in Seattle, and so I jumped on a plane and went out there, and enjoyed that and met some interesting people like Aaron Hilligas and stuff like that. And a friend of mine who works at Intel told me the real conference for iOS developers is WWDC, so you should head down to that one. So back then
that's just easy. Oh, that's true. Yeah,
you could get a ticket. I mean, this is April, and April and May, and I bought a ticket, and they had been on sale for a couple of weeks, so I happened to get one of those, and I jumped on a plane, went down there for that. And then I don't remember how I heard about 360 iDev, but I think I bought the last ticket in 2010.
Oh,
very, very late in the day, because I couldn't even get a hotel room. I ended up like a mile down the road, and for those of you who don't know Colorado and don't live a mile above sea level, right? I walked from that hotel. It took me 10, 15 minutes to get from that hotel over to where it was in Littleton, I think, right? Littleton, Colorado?
Yeah, 2010, we would have been in Littleton. I don't even remember. There was a hotel within walking distance of our hotel?
Yeah, it was that was a sort of it was an area where like it was all industrial, like conference-y kind of buildings, right? So anyway, so I walked over, and like a 20-minute walk in Colorado for someone who's not lived a mile above sea level, I almost died. By the time I got to the lobby of the hotel where the conference was, I had to sit for like at least 15 minutes to get my body back into working order, right? And I remember, at that conference, you just kept saying to everybody, make sure you hydrate, make sure you hydrate. And man, was that true, right?
Which is funny because we used to bang that drum a lot, and we don't anymore. It just kind of fell to the wayside. I guess maybe I figured by this point, everyone has heard me do that spiel. Yeah, we used to really like push the hydration and being cognizant of the altitude, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, maybe you should.
yeah, probably.
Maybe you should. Because I certainly benefited from hearing you say it a few times, right? So the other thing interesting. So that's how I met John, folks out there. And I don't know if I personally met you at that point, but yeah. And then I kind of went I think I went to 3 in a row for a while, and then I think our friend Tammy, who we mentioned earlier, had a conference. So that's the one year I didn't go to 360 iDev. Apologies to Ray Wunderlich and the RW DevCon folks, because that is one of my favorite conferences too. But 360 iDev, far and away, is my favorite conference to go to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And then and it's sort of, we have a couple of unofficial things that we back on the show, and so we're all happy about mentioning the conference as it comes up every year to our folks, our listeners on the folks driving at home, as Jaime would say, listening to us talk about this. And in fact, people have asked us often, like Greg Hio and I are the only 2 hosts of the show that's met everybody that's been on our show, like regular hosts kind of thing, right? In person, in real life, as Greg likes to say, IRL.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time that Jaime and Mark met in the same space. In fact, I don't know if they've ever done that, but we have a picture of us at 360 iDev.
Yeah. I do remember the year that all of you were there, or most, because I don't think Greg was there that year, right?
Yeah, he comes and goes, but so and actually, we did a live. That was our first live from. I think we actually did it from a hotel room, actually, and then I think the next year you let us have maybe one of the years you let us have a chance to do it, and we had Gene and Joe Chwinski and Tammy in an episode. I actually think that was the time I went by myself, because I don't think the other three were. Oh, Jaime was there, but Mark's only been to 360 once, as far as I know, but not for want of trying. He just gets to be a busy boy. The other thing I know John Wilker about, and that's I apologize for dominating the conversation, but the other thing I know you about you is for the Space Rogues, which I don't know if you can't see. Yes, you can see right there.
Oh, nice.
My signed copies of. I think I was probably the first person to ask you to sign physical copy, right?
Yep.
So I have volumes 1 and 2, and I apologize, I've only gone through volume 1, but you're up to volume 37 now, I think, right?
Pretty close. Yeah, book 9 comes out actually the week of IDEV, not for any particular reason other than I just kind of poked a date on the calendar trying to figure out releases. But yeah, book 9 comes out in, I guess, the time of this recording, 3 weeks. Yeah, it's wrapping up with the editor now and then goes to get uploaded everywhere.
Well, and as you know, I'm an audiobook person, so I have to ask you, I think you've only done the first 2 books in audio?
Yeah, it's still on the list. My narrator moved and just had some life stuff going on, and then obviously with the pandemic, the life stuff was amplified and made more difficult. But yeah, as soon as he is back in business and recording, the last time I talked to him, which I haven't in a while, I need to follow up, but the books 3 and 4 are first up in his queue.
Sure.
So cool. Hopefully 3 and 4, probably not this year if I had to guess. Maybe one of them, depending on what his life is like. But yeah, probably next year I would hope I'll be able to get maybe 3, 4, and 5 out.
Cool. All right. And so let's talk about this for a minute. I mean, I know we talked about it on 360. Did we talk about your writing career? Because I think when last time I saw you in the same space, because we've had this 90 minutes of pause that we've gone through, or was it 90 months? I can't remember. It's one of those 2.
4 years.
Yeah. So I think you were working maybe on book. Yeah, you had just signed book 2, so it must have just come out. So what is it? Why did you become a writer? What's the sort of genesis of that?
I've always liked writing and telling stories. The funnest story I have about that is my old business partner at 360 conferences, Tom Ortega, who you've met at 360s. He comes to most all. We used to work together at a mortgage company. And towards kind of the end of my tenure there, before I moved out here, we would always we'd stop at Christmas, we'd carpool together because we lived just down the street from each other, completely by happenstance before we worked together. But we would carpool and we'd stop at Krispy Kreme and get 2 or 3 dozen donuts and then just put them on one of our desks in our cubicle farm and just kind of be like, hey, there's donuts here for anybody. And the more you guys eat them, the less we eat them. And initially, it was just an email to our friend coworkers of donuts at my desk. And then I don't know if I was just bored one day, but I turned that email into this fairly long, if you were to print out the email, story about. I think the first one might have been aliens invading and bear claw shaped spaceships, and I worked in a couple of other donut types into the story, and so then it just became this weekly short story about there being donuts on my desk, and people would come by and be like, hey, add me to the donut email. They didn't actually eat any donuts, but they enjoyed getting the emails. And then I left, and every year there's a competition called National Novel Writing Month, which takes place in November.
Yeah.
And I've entered it for 15 years now. And entering it just means participating, and winning just means finishing. And you get a discount on shirts. But 2016, when it came around, the conferences had all finished. I didn't have anything particularly big on my plate. And so I just entered normal and actually finished the book and that was the very first time I had ever done that. And that was Space Rogues 1. And so then I just was like, oh my gosh, it kind of rekindled my love of telling stories and making stuff up, and then hopefully getting paid to make stuff up.
Right, and so, but now you got nine books. Is it 9 books in total, or 9 Space Rogue?
9 Space Rogues, yeah. There's so I have the 9 Space Rogues books. I branched out to another very similar space opera series. I call the Grand Human Empire, which that one's got 2 books out, with the third about to go to the editor. And then on a lark, I another NaNoWriMo more recently under a pen name, I wrote like just kind of a more terrestrial, like action adventure thriller mystery kind of book. And I did that under a pen name just because I wasn't sure. In hindsight, shouldn't have done it. I should have just made it be by John Wilker. But I was worried that people that read sci-fi might not necessarily want to read that, and it would mess up all the Amazon algorithm juju. But yeah, so in total, I have about 14 books out.
Nice, cool, yeah. And then people wonder why all of a sudden
everything changed.
All right.
So,
ready?
So it should be nice and silent now.
So smash cut. Yeah, there we go. So
was it a Wayne's World?
I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a George Lucas,
Yeah.
So just imagine, those of you watching this on YouTube, that I did some sort of like, vignette sort of. There we go. There.
Yeah.
Okay. What were we talking about? Yeah, we were talking about books and yeah. Oh yeah. So my arching question is, so having been a fan of Heinlein, I think Heinlein kind of had a mega universe thing that kind of evolved through his book writing, and I'm not sure about Arthur C. Clarke. I never could figure out him, but I was fascinated by Asimov's sort of idea of how he tied, all the foundations and all the everything into the robot books, and it all has culminates at the end there. But I imagine that they have in their mind a giant, galaxy of characters and storylines and plots and things like that. Do you have that kind of thing when you think about Will? What's his name again? Will? Sorry.
Yeah, Will Calder.
Will Calder, yeah. So Will Calder, yeah. Does he have? Is there like a major? Is his father going to show up at some point and cut his hand off, or
Not to that extent, but I do kind of have. I guess I would fall probably somewhere in the middle of that. Like, I'm not completely making it up as I go, but definitely I don't have I don't know what the final book will be, or where it'll, like, what number it'll, like, I don't know how far it'll go. So I don't know where the story ends. But in my mind, I do kind of have everybody's history and their lives. I kind of have some idea of, so that I can treat them like they have some more backstory when they do stuff.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, because I guess, there's no point in asking you, like, for the big spoiler, because it hasn't been conceived yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I have no idea what the big spoiler would be. There's only one, and you're far enough behind it by the time that you get to it. You'll probably know it anyways. But the big spoiler that comes out in 9 is that Will. Oh, actually, I can't even give this spoiler because it dates back to book 2. So
I was going to say, what are you doing, John?
I figured by the time
we're supposed to give people a spoiler warning, and say spoiler so they can zip ahead 10 minutes or whatever.
Retcon everything about that. Nothing. No spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers. So we were so close to finding out the real truth behind Will Calder, and oh man, yeah. So our running joke of Tammy not watching Firefly is now gone.
Oh, did she finally watch it?
Oh, you didn't listen to it? Oh, you missed it. Yeah, we had her home for a whole episode. So here's the story. Right. I love telling the story because it's classic Tammy, right? Let's trash her because she's not here, right? So for those of you who don't know, John and I have been trying to get Tammy to watch Firefly forever. I even hand delivered the DVD box set to her house in Tennessee.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah, it's still got the shrink wrap on it, right?
So she didn't even watch that one.
Well, I think she tried to watch it, but then she didn't. And then so we finally convinced her last, just in the middle of this pandemic here, I guess, a few months ago, that that we should do like a sort of like Sustercast did. We'll do she'll watch an episode and then we'll have her on, because Jonathan and I and Jaime Jaime has been a while since he'd watched any of the stuff, but we're like, we knew it really well, and so I started watching it again too. So I watched episode 1 and again, and from like tried to be like, okay, this is the first time I've ever seen this show kind of thing, right? And I contacted her on Slack and I said, so we're ready to do episode 1. How are you doing? She says, oh, dude, I'm on episode 7. So once she watched 1 or 2, she was like totally hooked, right? So we had to slow her down, and then she eventually.
That is hilarious.
And so we did a mega episode on Firefly and Serenity, actually, all together, right? So
nice.
And actually,
did you guys do episodes about each one, or was the mega episode?
That was what we wanted to do. That we figured that because we're like, the thing is, we're in hiatus because of all the Star Trek gap, right? Because
sure,
we did Discovery, which I know you don't like. We don't have to go into that. And then we did Picard. Which has its moments, right? And then Lower Decks, of course, right? Which is great,
Yep.
And then, but our, the misnomer about our show, and it's kind of like more than just code. We don't just talk about code. In fact, we don't just talk about more than code. We talk about all kinds of things, and including, psychedelic 70s rock bands, stuff like that, right? But so same thing with we started out with genuinely wanting to talk about Discovery episode by episode, but we do like a whole like 40 minutes just on sci-fi news, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
all right, then we'll up the listener count. I'll go back and add it back in. But I'll have to skip so where do you guys diverge from it being entirely Discovered?
Well, I never really.
Or from day one, it was
never really was. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, it started out as a ramble. It was actually a part of an after show that Jaime and I did once, and I just published it as episode 1. And yeah, so and the funny story about it is my stepson Jonathan used to be like the editor of the Toronto Star, like a front page editor. So he was big time doing this stuff, right? But he used to do game reviews and used to do comic book reviews, right?
Oh,
and he's been collecting comic books since he had a paper route, right? So he's got like his whole foundation of his house is resting on comic book boxes, right? And that's a true story. Yeah. So he said, well, hey, I listened to your first couple of episodes, and a friend of mine mentioned this thing called fact check, and I don't mind doing a fact check on your show. So he started writing it out and doing the fact check. So so second or third episode, we added fact check to the show by Jonathan, and then I sort of said, hey, why don't you just come on the show? So now he's like, apologies to Jaime, but Jonathan dominates the conversation because he's like a sci-fi nerd and he's a writer. So he
nice
by train and training. So he can he's horrible to go to movies with, because I'll be watching a movie and Tom Cruise will do something. I mean, he won't watch Tom Cruise movie, but Tom Cruise will do something amazing. Some major story point will come over, and I'll look over him and say, "Did you know that?" He goes, "Yeah, I knew that like 20 minutes ago." Like he sees he's read so many comic books and graphic novels and movies and stuff as a kid.
He's got the genre down pat.
He knows what I don't know if he knew Luke was Darth Vader's son, but he probably could have figured that one out. That
would have been funny if he busted out at like the first watching and called it.
Well, he could have been, but he was probably, I think he was around 5 or 6 when that happened, right? So
even more impressive then.
Yeah, definitely, right? Definitely, yeah. So we do talk about we did an episode on Avengers Endgame, and we did a whole series on Game of Thrones. I had a celebrity friend of mine on to talk about it because he was hooked on it, and then we even, for those of you who look at our fan art, I actually have the little Starbucks coffee cup in about just about every screenshot on that show, right? So.
Awesome.
Sort of running joke, right? Which nobody's noticed.
Seinfeld Superman.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then Yeah, so anyway, let's talk about the other thing that you're involved in, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get this episode out so quickly is 360 iDev, and so for those of you who don't follow what we do for a living, I'm an iOS developer and I work as a dev manager, and as I mentioned before, I've been going to conferences in person for many years. I mean, I started out just trying to find information because back in 2010, 2011, there wasn't a Raywinner like .com. I mean, there was,
right.
but but it was like he'd had 5 articles on the thing. In fact, and when I met him, he had just started doing like a bit more serious about it. In fact, he hadn't made the decision to go full in on that as a business, right, at that point in time. But because he was still writing books with partners and stuff like that. So going to conferences and sitting, across from people, and the icebreaker for me, I always say to somebody, what kind of app do you work on, and what do you do, and what's your job, and that's a great icebreaker to sort of get people talking about their stuff, because people love to tell you what they're doing, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that's exactly the best thing about 360 iDev. Plus, I mean, the content's great. Like it's always pretty decent talks and stuff like that, and some pretty fascinating things. Like I remember I can talk about like some of the ones, like when auto layout came out, we're all like like something comes out of WWDC and we're all like scratching our heads and go, that's kind of interesting, what do we do with it? And then you have Justin Williams talk about auto layout, and if you ever wanted to know about it, we're afraid to ask in a good 40-minute talk, right? And then you can discuss it with your friends. In fact, more than just code, we have to blame you actually for the genesis of that, because it was in one of those after talk conversations that I had with Jaime that we kind of clicked. And then when I was looking for co-hosts, I remember this kid that mentioned this stuff, and yeah, so
awesome.
Yeah, we're a child of 360 iDev, if you want to call it, love child, I guess. Right?
All right, I'm going to add that to the list. That's part of my talk this year is stuff that has come of 360 iDev.
Yeah, so I mean, we I just you can hear some notes for you. I mean, we're coming up on our 7th year of. We've got like 400 shows. We've 1 million downloads plus. Nice. More than 1 million downloads, including, we officially hit the 1 million mark sometime last year, but depends on where I look at the stats, right? But yeah, no, we definitely have on Fireside, which is where we're currently hosted. We hit 1 million a few months ago, but yeah, and so and in one of my talks I talked about how many hours at that time it would have taken you 2 weeks to listen to all the episodes. So I'd say probably 2.5 weeks now, end to end. Yeah, so we're definitely a product.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool to hear.
Of the conference. Yeah. So let's talk about the conference. I mean, last year, obviously we couldn't be in person. I'm not going to be in person this year. I bought a ticket. I'm going to be I'm on vacation, but I'm also going to try and sneak in. Well, because the time difference lets me watch things a little bit later at night too. Right?
Oh, that's yeah.
And by the way, I rocked the online Stump the Experts last year, but what do we call it?
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, Stump this year will be interesting to see, because we're still going to try and incorporate the online folks.
Oh, okay, good.
As much as we can. I think this year it'll be definitely different. What Tom and I have kind of settled on is, I don't know how we're going to do it yet online, but there will be basically a speaker team representative and an attendee team representative that just watches and pays attention to the online people, because there's about 5 speakers that are also remote, and so that way we'll be able to, if you're online, you can still chime in and be like, I know the answer, and someone in person will shout out, Tim knows the answer, and then we'll figure out either a FaceTime call or whatever to actually bring you up and have you answer the question.
I think I did the one-on-one thing. That's what where you have one the buzz-in thing where you have
the speed round type things.
Speed round, yeah. By the way, yeah. So just to be clear to our listeners, of course, that the only reason to go to 360 iDev is for 360 Stump. But that's not the only reason. It is a good time. That's not the only reason, John. So why don't you tell us and those who don't know about 360 iDev what it's all about? Why they should get a ticket?
Well, they should get a ticket if they're interested in iOS. Well, now it's kind of a laundry list: iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS development. The tagline has gotten considerably longer over the years. But yeah, if you're interested in that, I mean, the nice thing about iDev, especially its timing, is Apple releases things at DubDub, and we can talk about them immediately. And so iDev is kind of in the perfect post DubDub window where people have started to experiment with things. They update their submitted, they submitted their talks long before DubDub, but we update things. So if someone's like, well, crap, they just completely rewrote what I'm talking about, I have a month and some change to figure it out and update my talk. And so they do. So we end up having some really cool, timely stuff to talk about. And then it's also just kind of a community meeting place. We do, obviously Stump happens. There's a karaoke night, just the lobby, hanging out. I've been working on my kind of closing talk and going through my Photos app to pull in some stuff. And there's just so many photos of just people hanging out in the lobbies or at the sponsor booths and, just reconnecting, finding, the crux of my talk this time is, kind of about community. And so highlighting podcasts that were born, in the earlier days of iOS development, everybody was, writing their own apps and games, and we were all going to be rich. Partnerships that spun up, and book deals with Ray that came out of iDev and things like that. But yeah, and this year being hybrid, if you're not comfortable traveling, which given the way things are going is even more and more understandable every day, we're going to be live streaming it. Very similar to how we live streamed it last year, except this time I'll be me and one or two other people will be emceeing from the stage of the conference instead of just at my desk here in my house. But yeah, so yeah, great content where it's, since we've got the online component, we're keeping it single track. So there's, no having to, decide or be kind of overloaded on choices and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of, if you're into iOS, macOS, tvOS, anything Apple related development, it really is kind of the place to up your game.
Well, and meet other developers too. I should point out though, that, I'm in Canada, obviously, right? I can't come to the United States next week or 2 weeks.
As much as we would like to have.
Yeah, as much as I would like to travel through the Corona-infested United States.
But, we're a little bit wasteland right now.
That's true. Well, mine, Colorado is pretty safe. I think you were saying, or I was reading earlier, but in your blog. But and obviously European. We just opened the border to U.S. travelers coming to Canada just recently, like this weekend, right? And so we're all.
You're going to learn your lesson in 2 weeks, I'm sure. You guys will be like, we should have not let them.
Nobody ever listens to me, John. I only just stopped wearing a mask last week when I go outside to walk the dog with me and the dog and nobody else, And I live in a neighborhood with really low percentages, right? So, yeah. So, it's interesting because we talk a lot. We talked about WWDC. Of course, we've had two Corona versions of that, which were really good because they dumped a whole slew of videos on day one and day two and day three, and you could sit and pick and choose what you wanted to watch. Everything, of course, because it's Apple, was 100% produced. Yeah. I think you kind of sort of hit that mark a little bit last year with we have a conference here in Toronto that goes on before WWDC, and they had Paul Hudson on doing a live coding because only Paul Hudson can do live coding and not look like a schmuck, right? Like the rest of us. But that was not in the can. He was literally sitting in London at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
While we were watching it, right? But with the dogs and everything. Last year you did do a pretty fair shot at the online thing. With the canned talks and stuff like that, and then the questions and answers afterwards, which is still engaging. I was working, the best part about it, no, I was working, and I would have, while I'm coding, I had, my work over here, and on that screen over there, I was watching 360.
Oh, nice,
yeah. So
it definitely makes it easier in that regard. Like, you didn't have to take a week off, and
right, or travel to Denver,
or travel,
land, yeah. So it's good. So I mean, and like I said, the talks are always, pretty engaging. I used to do an article on 360 IDEV every year until they stopped doing articles. But not that I don't do articles. I mean, technically, I suppose I could still do an article.
Yeah, I'd say you could still write
them. What's wrong with me? Right? Yeah. True. I probably could, but I didn't really. Yeah. I mean, but I used to go, and they used to give me the recordings. If you remember, you'd give me the recordings.
Oh, right. Yep.
So the ones I missed, I could sit through and sort of pick and choose and pieces of them as well. So which was pretty good. So I was able to write some stuff about that. So that was a lot of fun. So now, can we talk about for half an hour?
So we can talk about how anxious we are to get back to in person. Sure.
Let's be a little bit more businesslike and answer the questions that everybody's asking. How do they get a ticket? What does it cost?
Yeah. So, you can get a ticket. Just go to 360idev.com. If you have never heard of it, it's 360idev.com. And you can.
There'll be a link in the show notes. Yes.
There you go. And we've got a ticket. The upside of it being online is I can get a lot more creative with tickets and things. And so we've got an online attendee ticket that is $150. Includes access to all the recordings, things like that. This year, I was talking to somebody, and and I've done it in the past, kind of off and on. So they pointed out kind of the gender pay gap. So there's actually a women in technology. Every ticket has a comparable women in technology ticket that is priced based on the gender pay gap numbers from whenever the most recent ones were when I made the tickets. And then, if you are willing to, and interested in coming in person, we still have the in-person tickets, obviously. And those vary from, just your basic coming to the conference, as to come and you get your t-shirt and stickers and swag. And then we have an all-in ticket that we've added on that, includes continental breakfast and, a special reception on Sunday just for those ticket holders, plus speakers and sponsors and things like that. Kind of a ticket for everybody, for every level of, kind of comfort level with doing things. 360idev.com. The ticket link is right when you open the page.
So, do you still have and tell me if I'm talking out of turn, but do you still have the vet ticket? And you used to do a ticket where like a Coco Conf or not Coco Conf, Coco Heads, like if you were a Coco Heads group.
Yep. So we still do a Coco Heads discount. So basically anybody that runs Coco Heads, or if you don't run a Coco Heads and you run a Swift meetup or whatever we call, like Coco Heads is now a bit of an outdated term, but if you run a meetup that is about iOS or Mac development, you can reach out. You still can if there's time, if you've got a meeting coming up. But we basically give away 2 free tickets to every meetup that asks for it.
There you go.
And all we ask in exchange is, share the word and, make sure that everybody knows to then come. And we give on top of the 2 free passes, we also just give a community discount so that, if you don't win the raffle, you can still come for less than full price. And then, I do have the military ticket. It is active, I think, this year. This year was a little bit more disjointed because I ended up just having so many online level attendees and in-person level attendees. The military discount, I think I made it a discount for anybody that reaches out instead of a ticket that you could buy, just to not have the ticket page be 12 inches long when you pull it up to browse the available options. As I did that, I can't remember when I started that, maybe 2014 or 13. But just as a way to give back and say thanks. Anybody that's active, retired military gets a half off discount on any ticket level.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So I was, we could dig a bit more into the life of a conference organizer and how pandemic has hit you and all that kind of stuff. But I just happened to listen to the last Release Note episodes where Joe and Charles had John Wilker on as a guest, and they talked about all that stuff. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes for that.
There you go.
People, I don't want to repeat. I mean, I did actually ask you before I realized you were on on their podcast, but so I'm not gonna drive that nail home. But yeah, I do remember. And just so you know, I mean, like for those of you out there who are thinking of ways that, like last year, I think, just to talk about this for a second, you went, WTF am I going to do if we can't have a conference in person? And you sent out a plea and it's like, hey, just hit my Patreon or whatever. And I know Jaime and I both did, and you comped us a ticket last year, which was great, right? So it was just our way of reaching out and thanking you again, because we wouldn't be doing this, we wouldn't be rolling in podcast money. Wait a minute, where's podcast money? Let me know when you find some of it.
Those exposure bucks.
Yeah, exposure bucks. That's it. Yeah, that and the bus ticket will get me downtown. Wait a minute, I already live downtown. Whoops. All right. Anyway, so I am stealing Tammy's idea and having a hot seat section of the show.
Okay.
I'm sure you're looking forward to. But so Tammy's, again, this is Tammy. Gotta love her. The whole idea of asking these kind of questions is based on the works of Marcel Proust, right? I don't know if you know who that is, but if you don't, maybe I'll put a link in the show notes for that.
There you go.
So I'm actually going to ask you legitimate Marcel Proust questions.
And these are like stream of consciousness, right? Like I don't noodle on it. I just answer.
Well, we do have the ability to edit. I can't edit.
Oh, good. So when I'm like, we'll just edit that part out.
Yeah. Editing is my thing. So yeah,
we can fix it in post.
Exactly. So smash cut to the first question, and then smash cut to the answer. All right. So if they notice you move like this, all of a sudden they'll know that I did a cut. I've just given it away. That's the cigarette burn, like in in what's that called, Fight Club. All right, so the first question: if you're seated comfortable, you're not seated, you're standing, or if you're standing comfortable,
hence the additional me moving around.
Well, at least we're not getting the mic noise anymore, which is great. Thank you very much.
And I wrote a note to remember to grease my office chair.
I don't know if it was the chair, but anyway, it was sort of whatever it is, it's much better now.
Okay, good.
The listeners are appreciating it if they haven't already tuned out. For those of you who stuck with us, thank you very much for sticking around. So the first question is, what is your motto?
Keep going, I think. I mean, I've never thought about having a motto, but I probably should. I feel like everybody needs like an official
How about
stenciled on the
don't
wall.
Suck?
Oh, well. See, all right, now
I saw your T-shirt on your blog. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, the conference motto, my company motto is events that don't suck, which I've doubled down with. Like, I have shirts that I put that on, and I wear proudly, and I've gotten a little bit of business from. So it worked out pretty well. But yeah, the conference motto is events that don't suck, because there's a lot of conferences out there, and not all are awesome. And my goal is to have everyone go home and be like, wow, that was a fun time. And hopefully learned a lot.
Yeah, and I just want to point out to the Space Rogue fan out there that you're wearing a Space Rogues hat right now, part of the swag kit.
Always on brand.
All right. So speaking of heroes, who are your heroes in real life?
I honestly don't know. And I don't know that I have anybody that I kind of hold up to that.
Does Nicole listen to this show at all?
I mean, she's a hero for putting up with me. That's a big one right there. But yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I might have to noodle on that, and like you can add it to the show notes if I think about it in time.
Okay.
I honestly have like no clue. I've never really thought about that.
All right. How about who are your favorite writers?
Terry Brooks is kind of the first writer that like got me hooked on reading. I'll just stick with that. There's plenty of like indie authors that I could probably prattle on about, but yeah, Terry Brooks is kind of the most mainstream person that I think hooked me in.
Okay. What is your most treasured possession? There's a lightsaber behind you.
I was just thinking, I was like, how nerdy is it if it's my lightsaber?
Not nerdy at all.
It might be the lightsaber only because, one, it wasn't cheap, and two, I don't want to have to go to Disney World again.
Oh.
To get, like, that in and of itself is an ordeal, and so I don't want to repeat that. So
why is it an ordeal? Just the current climate, or what?
Oh, I mean, just it's a massive theme park with like 2 million people crowded into it.
Yeah, I have no desire whatsoever to go to any Disney park at all.
Yeah, I will say as an aside, since we're trying to fill that last 30 minutes, I did go with a friend who works for Disney and loves Disneyland or loves Disney World. And so he actually had he was like, all right, we'll do this. We'll go here. If we do this thing, we can get this ticket and then zip over here and do this. And so he had it all worked out. And Disney World does this once in a while evening. Of course, it's an extra ticket because it's Disney. Nothing is included. But you stay after the park closes for like an hour and a half. And so the population drops from, 8 gajillion people crowded into the park to just 1 gajillion people crowded into the park. So the lines are almost non-existent. You can actually get around. It's all you can snack, so you actually can enjoy doing, grabbing up popcorn and ice cream sandwiches willy-nilly and things like that. So that made it more enjoyable. But yeah, I'm not a huge theme park person, especially if I've done it once. I'm like, all right, well, I'm good now for a decade or two. So yeah, it might be the lightsaber.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we still have we still have this thing called Canadian National Exhibition here. And when we were kids, we used to go, but then as we got older, we kind of realized it's really janky and kind of scummy, and there's too many people, and it's just not worth going. The only reason you go is if you get a concert ticket that's within the venue.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You get in for free, and whatever, right? So it's all great. So next question. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Being able to do what I love and be financially set. Not necessarily not have to work, but just enjoy what I'm doing and not have to worry about money.
Right. Well, one of the things that iOS developers like is the fact that we get paid to do what we love, right? That's the goal, right? If you're doing something you love, it's not work, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't feel like work. So it does feel like work sometimes.
Especially during meetings, but other than that.
Yeah. So, who's your favorite hero of fiction?
It might be Malcolm Reynolds.
Still with Malcolm Reynolds?
Still with Mal Reynolds, yeah. Right. Which reminds me of when we were talking about Tammy Eyes, I'm like, I'm due for a rewatch of that. I haven't done that in a while. But yeah, I think so.
So the funny thing for me, and this is typical of what happens. I just bought a 2020 MacBook that we're looking at right now, MacBook Pro 13 last year, and then Apple introduces the M1 a month later. I'm like, oh man! But so I had to watch the Firefly series, and I didn't have a copy of it, and it was pandemic, so I couldn't just go to my son's house and get his copy of it. And so I looked around, and I can't remember. I think I bought it on iTunes. I found a reasonable price for it, so I paid $20 or $30 for it to watch it for the show. So you do it for the show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably should have expensed it, but and then a week later, literally a week, the week we did the show, Disney puts it on Disney Plus.
Oh, is it on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Is it Disney Plus? Yeah, it's on one of the. I think I'm pretty sure it's Disney. Yeah, because I went and I wanted to see if it was better than the version I got, in terms of 4K or whatever. Because it is, it's of its time for sure. And just my instant review of the first episode is, if I had only ever watched the first episode, I don't think I would have really bought into the show.
Oh.
Yeah. So because it was it's very sort of, I think it was late. Was it 2000s? When did it come out? It was
Yeah, I want to say like right at the 2000
We need fact
mark,
check
maybe?
on this show. Yeah, somewhere around there. And it was, but it was kind of, it's amazing the people that are in it, right? Like the actors, like
Yeah.
Christina Hendricks and stuff like that. But and every single one of those, now I watch anything that has anybody that was in Firefly on it, including I watched the cop show that the Rookie that he does now, and I did watch Castle for a few seasons and stuff like that. But yeah.
Did you watch the episode of Castle where he dressed like Mal Reynolds?
I heard about it, but I think I had stopped watching by that
I mean,
time.
it's a throwaway, like,
yeah.
It's a Halloween episode. He walks out, he's in the Mal Reynolds costume.
And his kid's like, who are you supposed to be?
Yeah, he's like Space Cowboy or something. And then it cuts to the rest of the show. Like it was, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't even like a thing. But apparently everybody on the show, I heard that a lot of people were actually on Castle as perps or victims or,
I know that Alan Tudyk definitely was.
Well, the doctor dude was on that. I think he's.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I've forgotten his name now. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's awesome.
Can do, right? So.
I'm waiting for the Rookie to have a Halloween episode and him to dress up as Mal Reynolds.
Right. Yeah. Right. All right. So here's the last question I have. Right. I might come up with some more. Who knows? But this is the last official question. Where would you most like to live?
Probably here in Denver. I don't necessarily have a love affair of the ocean, so I wouldn't want to move back to the east or west coast. I lived in California for a long time. The mountains are fun. I wouldn't want to live in the mountains only because I like internet access. So yeah, I think.
Ski and all that stuff, or
I don't. I did when we moved here. Nicole was like, "Well, we live in Denver now. You're going to learn to ski," and so I did. But I never loved it, and it's a really expensive hobby if you don't enjoy it.
Right, and it's cold.
It's cold and
wet. Yeah,
like the highway into the mountains is terrible, and so we would get up at like 5 a.m. on a Saturday to drive up there, and then basically kill time until the mountain till the resort opened to be like the first in, and then we would leave at like lunchtime. Because if you left at 4 when the resort closed, that was like a 4-hour drive to get back downtown.
Wow.
But if you left at lunchtime, it's only the regular 2-ish hour drive. And so it was just a lot. And I was like, I don't enjoy doing this enough for all of this suffering this entailed. And then there was the potential of death, colliding with a tree or whatever. So yeah, I stopped. Yeah. Nicole still does, but I now sleep in when she goes to the mountain, which is nice.
Well, my experience for skiing, I did it in high school, and we would go to like one of the big malls here and get on a bus, like one of those big, tour buses.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we didn't have to deal with the traffic, Yeah. And then when I moved up to Owen Sound, which is near Blue Mountain, which is not, I don't even know why they call it a mountain. It's a Blue Hill, it should be called. It's one of the better runs here, but it's like nothing compared to like the Laurentians or the Rockies, right? But we skipped off school one day and drove over, and the place was like a huge snowstorm, and the place was closed pretty much.
Oh,
so us and like 30 other people. I skied through powder and all that kind of stuff. It was lots of fun. Yeah. So, but yeah, nice. I only did it for a few years, but then I got growed up and never went again. But yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you from originally? If you're not from Colorado?
California. Southern California.
What? You moved from California to Colorado? Like what? What was that idea about?
Completely on a lark. Nicole and I were still at that point dating, and she had a job opportunity, and she's like, I might be going to Denver. Right. And I was like, I've never been to Colorado, so let's do that. And then in between the moving and stuff, I proposed, and we got married. And then literally the day we got home from our honeymoon, the moving truck arrived, and off we went to Denver.
Nice, cool.
But yeah, I don't miss California. I like visiting. Like, it's fun to go back and see friends and visit the ocean, but yeah, I'm okay.
So where were you in Southern California when you where you grew up and all that kind of stuff? Went to school and everything?
Mostly, yeah. I was like born and raised Pacific Northwest and around Seattle. And then my family moved to Southern California. We lived in Paris, California, not spelled the same as the cool Paris. And then I lived in Riverside. Nicole lived closer to the ocean, but my job was closer to her house. I had like an hour and a half on a good day each way commute, which is the other thing I don't miss about California is sitting on the freeway. But yeah, so then, I lived in Riverside for 10 years, I think. And then, we moved out here and never looked back.
All right, cool. All right, this has been another episode of the More Than Just Code podcast. Write your own opening. Oh, never mind. I'm reading the notes on it.
If there's brackets, don't read.
Yeah, don't read this. If you want to find out more about the show, you can visit the More Than Just Code website at mtjc.fireside.fm. There you can find a summary and show notes of each episode. We list links to the apps and the code and stuff that we talked about on the show. And if you like the podcast, tell your friends. Leave a comment on the website. And if you can, please write a review on iTunes. Please recommend us to in your favorite podcaster, Patcher. Also, since we're on the YouTubes or whatever, click it's over there.
Oh yeah, like and subscribe.
Click the subscribe button, and there's some sort of bell thing. I don't know how that works. But apparently you get notified when I publish an episode. And then let's see, all these things help others find out about the show, and we really appreciate your help spreading the word. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. So use the hashtag AskMTJC, and we'll mention you on the show. Friends of the show can also join us on our podcast Slack channel. Woo! And once again, our Twitter account is at MTJC_podcast. So yeah, there you go. That's it. Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And we'll see you in Denver sometime.
Yes.
One day.
Yeah. I have a meeting with the hotel tomorrow because I basically just send them emails now. Like anytime someone would like cancel their ticket and or thankfully most people haven't just canceled. They've just converted from in person to online. And the first person that did it, I forwarded it to the hotel and was like, we should probably start talking about scaling everything back. And thankfully, they've been very, very cool to work with as far as willing to do that. Like they're not kind of holding my feet to the fire on, you said you'd fill 400 hotel rooms. I was like, well, that's not happening.
Well, I think from them too, they're probably happy to have the business too. Anyway, I got to run. So
alrighty.
Thanks for being on the show. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll definitely be chatting in the future.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks again, John.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.